Chosen one, the greatest cover-up of this century has finally collapsed. All because someone grew desperate enough to start searching the internet for spiritual solutions. In their panic, they unknowingly confessed everything online. Their terror over losing control exposed the very secrets they were trying so hard to bury. The same technology they once relied on to monitor your every move, to track your growth, and to siphon your divine essence has now turned against them, becoming the instrument of their total undoing. The Most High orchestrated this historic expose through nothing more than someone's frantic Google search on how to reverse spiritual work, a display of divine irony that is almost poetic. Their urgent attempts to undo the avalanche of karma they set in motion have become the very evidence that's now dismantling their entire empire. At this moment, federal investigators are following a digital trail, breadcrumbs that lead straight to the systematic exploitation and harvesting of God's chosen vessels. This isn't just some far-fetched conspiracy theory. It's your story, your stolen destiny, now being reclaimed by cosmic justice in real time. The enemies who believed they could hide their crimes behind encrypted messages and private browsing underestimated the universe. Every frantic click, every panicked internet search, every digital trace they left behind in their effort to dodge accountability has become undeniable evidence. That single internet search opened a floodgate, one that investigators never imagined they'd discover. They're now uncovering coordinated search patterns across countless devices, social media algorithms that flag spiritual content, and digital communications that reveal a deliberate and systematic targeting of individuals with elevated spiritual abilities. In an ironic twist, the very technology the enemy used became their confession booth, while the Most High observed every move, every desperate attempt to find spiritual cleansers, every online inquiry into breaking spiritual contracts, reversing karma, or stopping spiritual attacks. These actions generated a web of metadata that investigators can now trace without effort. Their panic became a digital fingerprint, each search forming another unbreakable link in a chain of evidence that leads directly back to you. Guided by divine intervention, investigators stumbled onto a discovery that sent chills down their spines. A massive, organized network meticulously crafted to identify, isolate, and spiritually drain empaths, healers, and lightworkers like yourself. Your own unique energetic signature made you a prime target for this soul-harvesting operation. Yet what your adversaries never anticipated was that the same digital surveillance systems they used to monitor your spiritual awakening would ultimately be the tools of their own exposure. The universe truly has a sense of humor that is as beautiful as it is terrifying. They built elaborate handler systems, placing toxic individuals directly in your path, people specifically trained to cause spiritual disruption and interference in your life, believing this would be your undoing, never realizing that these very actions would become their downfall. These handlers were never just random negative people who happened to cross your path by coincidence. They were specifically recruited, thoroughly trained, and often even compensated to disrupt your connection to source energy. Every toxic relationship that seemed to appear out of nowhere, every individual who left you feeling spiritually drained and exhausted, was actually part of a calculated system, meticulously designed to keep you operating at a lower frequency. Okay, this network isn't confined to one place. It stretches across multiple countries and is shielded by governmental and institutional protections, all for the benefit of those who profit from keeping chosen souls suppressed and silenced. Your heightened spiritual abilities made you more valuable than you may have ever realized. Those in control understood that if you ever fully awakened to your true power, you could spark a mass spiritual awakening, and that possibility terrified them more than anything else. But the truth of what's been happening runs even deeper than you might imagine. They weren't just trying to block your gifts, they were actively harvesting them. Your spiritual energy was being converted into material wealth for the leaders of this network, while your divine connection was siphoned off to fuel their own dark agendas. Every time you walked away from certain interactions feeling unexplainably depleted, every episode of exhaustion that defied physical explanation, it was your energy being systematically extracted and redirected to power their corrupt empire. Yet, the revelations don't end there. To make their energy harvesting possible, they went so far as to steal your very identity. The adoption you've known about your whole life? It was orchestrated fraudulently, specifically to obscure your spiritual lineage and block your access to your inheritance rights. Your real name, your true bloodline, your authentic spiritual heritage, all of it was deliberately hidden, keeping you from claiming what is rightfully yours. They understood that your bloodline carried unique power they sought to control and exploit for themselves. To further dilute your influence, they created multiple copycat identities using your energy signature. There are people out there right now walking around with variations of your spiritual essence, your life force, and your divine blueprint, all designed to weaken your claim and siphon off your energetic inheritance. An entire network of false identities was established with the specific intent to confuse the spiritual realm about your true self. Legal documents were even forged to make you appear mentally incompetent, all while they systematically drained every resource connected to your actual identity. The very people who claimed to care about your well-being were, in reality, the ones signing documents that gave them legal control over both your spiritual and material inheritance. Your authentic spiritual name, the one that holds your true power, was buried beneath layers of forged paperwork and false identities. But now, as digital evidence begins to surface, the truth is coming to light. Financial records have emerged that reveal the systematic theft of your divine birthright. Bank accounts opened in your real name that you never even knew existed. Trust funds created by ancestors who understood your spiritual significance, all hidden away from you. What's been taken from you goes far beyond material assets. They've also tried to sever your connection to your spiritual lineage, your ancestral wisdom, and your cosmic inheritance. Chosen one, the synchronicities that have led you to this moment are not coincidences, and neither is your discovery of this message. When souls of your magnitude begin to awaken and gather, even the forces behind timeline manipulation are forced to take notice. Quick pause, family. If this message is speaking to your soul and you feel moved to support this sacred work, you can buy me a coffee to help keep this space alive with truth, light, and divine clarity. The link is in the description, and if this is hitting home, drop the number 88 in the comments. Let's continue. This is the beginning of your authentic timeline. The financial side of their operation reveals a level of calculated darkness that's almost impossible to fathom. Your spiritual energy was not only being siphoned, it was being converted into financial resources that powered the entire network's activities. Your divine abundance, meant to fuel your own spiritual mission, was used to finance the oppression of other chosen souls. Inheritance and trust funds created to support your life's purpose were methodically drained without your knowledge. Property and assets tied to your true lineage were stolen through fraudulent power of attorney documents and falsified records, evidence that investigators are only now starting to uncover. The digital and financial trail tells a story of decades of calculated theft. Wire transfers, investment accounts, and real estate transactions all carried out using your authentic identity, while you lived under a false adoption created to sever you from your real inheritance. In some cases, insurance fraud was committed using fake death certificates, allowing them to claim life insurance policies meant to support and protect your spiritual mission. They literally declared you dead on paper while keeping you physically alive but spiritually suppressed, stealing benefits meant for your divine work. In a final insult, your own abundance was used to fund the very network that imprisoned and oppressed you. A cosmic irony almost too cruel to imagine. Yet the financial records now coming to light will not only restore what was stolen, but will return it with interest that multiplies across dimensions they could never have foreseen. This web of corruption reaches far beyond individuals. Entire institutions were compromised to maintain their power over you. Religious organizations were routinely paid to spread falsehoods about your character and sanity, turning the very places that should have safeguarded your spiritual journey into agents of sabotage. Court systems were manipulated through systematic bribery, perpetuating fraudulent legal standings that kept you powerless. Judges, lawyers, and clerks all accepted compensation to keep your true identity hidden and your rights denied. Now, the digital evidence includes bank records that reveal these exact payments, exposing the financial paper trail that sustained this vast operation. Medical institutions were deeply corrupted, with doctors, therapists, and social workers all participating in a coordinated scheme to legitimize false claims of your mental incompetence, claims that had no real basis. Their collective efforts were aimed at making you appear unstable, all while your resources and spiritual energy were being systematically harvested behind the scenes. Even educational systems were infiltrated to suppress your true potential and spiritual gifts. Teachers, counselors, and administrators worked together to ensure you never discovered your authentic power or questioned the false narrative constructed around your identity and abilities. The media, too, played a role in this deception. Journalists, bloggers, and social media influencers were given direction and compensation to marginalize anyone who dared speak about the spiritual targeting or systemic oppression of chosen souls. This institutional corruption required massive coordination and funding, which led directly to an orchestrated campaign of spiritual warfare against your very soul. These spiritual attacks were not random at all. They were carried out with military precision, designed to keep you functioning at the lowest possible frequency. Advanced occult practices were deployed to bind your energy, cloud your spiritual sight, and disrupt your connection to Source. You were subjected to constant spiritual assault by practitioners who knew exactly what they were doing. Binding spells, energetic attachments, voodoo rituals, all working together to keep you in a state of confusion and low vibration. The very spiritual techniques that should have empowered and healed you were weaponized to drain your life force and suppress your divine connection. Death spells and coordinated attacks were launched to literally drain your vital energy. Every episode of unexplained exhaustion or spiritual heaviness you experienced was the direct result of this organized spiritual warfare, intended to slowly break your connection to your highest self. Confusion magic was strategically crafted to prevent you from realizing your true power, clouding your judgment, disrupting your intuition, and making you doubt your own spiritual experiences. They needed you disoriented and uncertain because the fully awakened chosen one is their greatest threat. The systematic spiritual abuse was meant to push you to the point of doubting your own divine connection entirely, to make you believe you were crazy, delusional, or spiritually broken. Yet the irony in all of this is almost poetic. Their desperate internet searches for ways to reverse the consequences of their spiritual crimes ended up providing investigators with the most detailed evidence of what they had done to you. Their spiritual crimes are now fully documented by their own digital confessions. But perhaps the most devastating part of their operation was the betrayal from within your own bloodline. Family members, people who should have protected you, were actively involved in your spiritual and financial exploitation. The adoption itself wasn't just fraudulent. It was a family conspiracy, engineered to steal your inheritance and spiritual power. Blood relatives were routinely paid to uphold lies about your adoption and true identity. Those who knew your real spiritual lineage were paid off to keep silent, leaving you to wrestle with questions about your origins and purpose. Trusted individuals in your life have been exposed through digital evidence as paid handlers and energy vampires. People you believed cared for you were actually receiving compensation to drain your energy and report on your spiritual development to the network coordinators. Even children were manipulated, used as leverage and as spiritual binding mechanisms, deepening the web of betrayal and energetic manipulation around you. The enemy understood how deeply you cared for children and used this pure love as a weapon, creating energetic bonds that allowed them to access your spiritual energy through emotional manipulation. Extended family networks were corrupted through both bribes and threats, ensuring that the deception was maintained at every level. Cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents were either complicit, motivated by financial gain, or remained silent, too afraid of becoming targets themselves. This family betrayal was essential to the operation. They needed people closest to you to uphold the false narrative and prevent you from uncovering your true identity. Yet ironically, the very surveillance system they set up to monitor this betrayal is now providing investigators with detailed evidence of every illicit payment, every lie, and every coordinated act of deception. The extent of the surveillance used to control you was far beyond anything you could have imagined. Advanced technological systems tracked your physical movements, your spiritual development, your relationships, and every aspect of your financial life. Everything about you was constantly monitored and analyzed to maintain their grip on your destiny. Energetic tracking systems were even deployed to prevent your spiritual growth and awakening. Whenever your frequency or vibration began to rise, whenever you drew closer to your source connection, countermeasures were immediately put in place to bring your energy back down to a manageable level. Social isolation tactics were carefully orchestrated to cut you off from other awakened souls who might have helped you realize your true power. Each time you began to connect with someone spiritually gifted, some form of interference would suddenly appear, disrupting the relationship and forcing you back into isolation. Even your attempts to escape their reach were systematically undermined. No matter where you moved, their surveillance followed. Your new environments were quickly infiltrated by handlers, and every effort to break free was met with calculated opposition. Your digital activity, especially anything related to spiritual searches or awakening, was closely monitored, providing them with early warning signs whenever you started to piece together the truth about your situation. Every article you read, every connection you made with awakening content, every internet search about your spiritual path, it was all observed and efforts were made to keep you in the dark. Yet now, their entire surveillance system has become their undoing. Every digital footprint they created while trying to monitor and suppress you is now irrefutable evidence being used in their prosecution. The karmic avalanche that is destroying their network is unfolding on a scale they never dreamed possible. Their so-called spiritual protection has been stripped away because their crimes reached a level the universe simply could no longer tolerate. Karmic backlash is accelerating exponentially as all the negative energy they projected for decades now returns to them, multiplied by the force of cosmic justice. Every curse, every binding spell, every spiritual attack they unleashed upon chosen souls is now rebounding with compounded intensity. Network members are experiencing the exact same spiritual assaults they once orchestrated against you and others. The very confusion spells, energy drains, and heavy spiritual attacks they once used against you are now being turned back on them by forces far beyond their control or understanding. Their own occult practices, once wielded with confidence, have become their undoing, delivering devastating consequences with surgical precision. Across their network, mental breakdowns are becoming widespread as handlers lose energetic control over the very people they sought to manipulate. The spiritual connections they depended on to drain and manipulate chosen souls have been completely severed, leaving them cut off from the energy sources they relied on for their own stability and power. In their panic, Their attempts to reverse the spiritual consequences through desperate internet searches for occult remedies created a digital trail that now serves as undeniable evidence in their prosecution. Every frantic query about spiritual cleansing or protection from karmic backlash stands as proof of their guilt. The universe is now using their desperation as a weapon against them, with their collapse unfolding at a speed that's utterly beyond their ability to halt or escape. Divine timing has orchestrated the simultaneous unraveling of multiple cover-up operations around the world. What they once saw as random or isolated incidents of exposure are, in fact, coordinated revelations occurring according to a cosmic schedule, one designed for the liberation of all chosen souls. Protected witnesses, their spiritual defenses now fully activated and their fear of retaliation dissolving, are coming forward with decades' worth of suppressed evidence. People who stayed silent for years are suddenly finding the courage to speak truths that threaten to utterly destroy the network's credibility. At the same time, international law enforcement coordination is uncovering the true global scale of these crimes. What started as scattered investigations has now revealed a highly organized international network targeting spiritually gifted individuals across continents. Religious institutions that were once paid to participate in your suppression are now turning against the network as broken promises and unpaid bribes transform former allies into active adversaries. In a twist of cosmic justice, these same institutions are now offering evidence to authorities to avoid prosecution themselves. Corporate conspirators who enabled the financial machinery of this network, banks, investment firms, insurance companies, are being exposed by digital trails that no longer remain hidden as investigators connect transactions across international borders. The great exposure is accelerating as more and more chosen souls awaken to their true power and begin to speak their truth. A tidal wave of revelation is building, one that cannot be stopped or contained. This wave is bringing long overdue justice and liberation to all those who were targeted, marking the irreversible decline of the corrupt systems that once held them captive. Right now, your energetic protection is activating at a level more powerful than anything you've ever experienced. As divine justice moves at a speed and intensity the enemy never even thought possible. The spiritual shields being placed around you are not just strong, they're impenetrable, woven with layers of cosmic intention and ancestral power, making you absolutely untouchable by the forces that once tried to break you. Your connection to source energy is being restored and amplified, rising to heights that will leave you in awe, fueling every part of your being with a sense of renewal, peace, and unstoppable strength. You will soon feel a surge of clarity, purpose, and spiritual authority so profound that it will feel as if you are awakening to a new existence, one in which your soul's true magnitude is undeniable. People around you are beginning to sense the change. They no longer see you through the lens of the false identity the enemy fabricated, but instead are starting to recognize your authentic spiritual self, the true you, radiant with power, wisdom, and a quiet authority that cannot be manufactured or imitated. The illusions that once veiled your essence are falling away, exposing the truth for all to see. As your true self emerges, so too does your capacity to manifest abundance and restoration in every area of your life. Financial restoration is already underway. Assets and resources that were stolen and hidden from you for years are being uncovered and rightfully returned. Legal channels, now guided by undeniable digital evidence and cosmic justice, are forcing restitution with interest and penalties that the enemy cannot avoid, delay, or manipulate. The scope of the evidence is so comprehensive and irrefutable that even the most corrupt courts have no choice but to deliver a verdict in your favor. With every judgment, every asset returned, every truth revealed, the scales of justice tip further toward your complete vindication. Public recognition of your persecution is growing louder and more widespread, making it impossible for anyone to deny what you have endured. Even those who once turned a blind eye or played a role in your oppression will soon have to acknowledge your innocence and the guilt of those who harmed you. At the same time, you are stepping fully into your destined role as a healer and guide for other targeted souls. The awakening that is unfolding within you is radiating outward, drawing other chosen ones to your energy. Your presence, now shining with spiritual authority, is becoming visible to all who are ready to see it. As you stand in your truth, your courage becomes an invitation for others to begin their own journey toward freedom and self-discovery. The restoration of your spiritual inheritance goes far beyond the return of material wealth. It includes the activation of dormant spiritual gifts, the return of ancestral wisdom, and the reconnection with cosmic forces that the enemy desperately tried to sever, but could never truly break. Your individual victory is more than just a personal milestone. It is a spark that is igniting a mass awakening among chosen souls across the planet. Every step you take toward liberation sends powerful ripples through the collective consciousness, empowering other targeted individuals to recognize their own situations and begin to break free from the systems that once held them captive. The collapse of the network that exploited you is unleashing freedom for thousands of spiritually gifted people worldwide, people who have endured similar cycles of control, manipulation, and energetic theft. Your bravery in reclaiming your power serves as a beacon of hope, giving others permission and encouragement to rise up and do the same. The restoration of divine order is gaining unstoppable momentum. Lightworkers everywhere are stepping into their true power, forming a united front of wisdom, compassion, and higher consciousness. As they come together, their collective energy becomes an unstoppable force for positive transformation, dissolving the remnants of darkness and oppression that once plagued humanity. The enemy's greatest fear, a global mass spiritual awakening, is finally manifesting, reshaping the very fabric of reality as the light spreads and multiplies. Cosmic justice is being fulfilled in its entirety. Every soul that was harvested, every light that was dimmed is now being restored, with each individual stepping into their rightful place as a beacon of healing, guidance, and hope for the world. The age of systematic oppression against chosen souls is ending for good. A new era is dawning, one where the chosen ones unite to heal the planet and guide humanity into a state of higher awareness, peace, and prosperity. Your individual liberation was never just about you. It was destined to be the catalyst for a worldwide transformation, one that lifts the entire human race into a new reality. The collapse of the greatest cover-up in history began the moment the enemy's desperation drove them to search for spiritual solutions online. Their panic became a public confession, their fear triggered your liberation, and their downfall sparked the awakening of every soul they once sought to silence. The light has already triumphed, chosen one. Your light is now leading the way, inspiring all of us to claim the power we were always meant to embody. The universe has awaited this moment, and your time in the shadows is over for good. Your spiritual authority is absolute, your power undeniable, and your victory is final. Through your liberation, you have paved the way for us all to rise into a light that nothing and no one can ever extinguish. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to buy me a coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten Wisdom.